John Cena had been the leader of WWE for over 10 years. And in that time, many wanted him to embrace the role of a villain because at his core, Cena's for the machine. His character is cookie cutter good and overcomes the odds. They finally found someone to follow him in Cody Rhodes, and with that, WWE became comfortable turning him into a bad guy again. This is the first time Cena's been a heel since 2003, and there's a lot of eyes on this run. It has the potential to be his most interesting era yet, and that's saying something because Cena reigned atop WWE for over 15 years. 15 years full of memorable feuds and matches, but he's never had to do something like this, becoming the main antagonist of WWE. It might have been a good thing he didn't turn heel years ago because the kids would have been heartbroken. It's already hurting them now, but what about those that were raised to see Cena as the barometer of good? These kids now just see an old man that used to be the best. If 2007 me saw John Cena embrace the hate, then all hope would be lost. So this video is just me talking about moments where John Cena could have turned heel. It's a would've, could've, should've video. We all know why he didn't turn heel. You don't need to explain it. I'm just talking about moments where the storyline made sense for him to turn into a villain. So with that, let's get into it. Okay. After John Cena captured the WWE Championship, WWE began to change parts of his character. He turned into a super resilient good guy the likes of fans hadn't seen since Hulk Hogan. With Cena, he was starting to get watered down significantly, and it was that he was pretty uninspiring in ring. By the end of 2005, fans were clamoring for a heel turn, but little did they know that things were just getting started. John Cena was the guy that WWE had been searching for, and it took them a long time to actually get their guy. You think he's gonna turn heel after 2 minutes? Well, in some ways, this was a great time to turn Cena into a villain. He was selling merch, of course, so it wasn't thought out much, but Cena had a lot of lore that could have played a part into a heel turn. This guy Triple H being cheered over him, the same man that they were complaining about for years, but all of a sudden he comes out to King of Kings, feels less like a final boss, and they like him. I will say that this version of Triple H had a cool element to him compared to 2002 to 2005, but even then, WWE didn't want him to win the match. There was a lot of disappointment when Cena won the main event, and it's funny looking back because I was a big Cena fan, but this man had pure haters. Rob Van Dam at One Night Stand gave us the closest thing to a heel version of John Cena. Cena was a great villain and seemed like one of those big bad villains that needed an enormous effort from the hero and his friends. And that's what happened. Him losing the title brought a mean streak for about a month, and it was an interesting version of Cena. With the black eye and all that anger, it gave him more depth and brought similarities to Stone Cold, who was aligned with nobody. This was a time he could have turned heel because he realizes that the world isn't all happy and proud and that One Night Stand was an awakening. Of course, it wasn't going to happen because of the business end, but as a story, 2006 in general is one of the best times for him to embrace the hate. The month after the pay-per-view was the most interesting he was in the entire year because he felt unpredictable and came out of One Night Stand a different man. I think in another world, if Cena did turn heel here, he would have destroyed Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam, although politics might play a part, and led the Raw brand before Triple H finally topples him. So Cena and Edge had an intense feud with Cena signing a potential deal to SmackDown if he lost. Instantly, this would have been a fresh approach as he could have feuded with Batista, Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, and Bobby Lashley. This is one that's talked about more. I don't think it was ever planned because I just can't see WWE even considering it. But one thing for sure is that WrestleMania 23 would have been Cena and Batista. I do like this concept because it changes everything with the WWE. John Cena's career changes entirely here, and again, it's all about money, but as a story, there's something there. He got screwed after the Chamber, the fans booed him at WrestleMania over the biggest villain on Raw, and to top it all off, the ECW fans hated his guts more than anything you could imagine. He was Cyrus, Jerry Lawler, and Hulk Hogan rolled into one to that ECW crowd. It was insanity. Fast forward to 2010, John Cena was the undisputed #1 wrestler in the world, and his popularity transcended North America and became the poster child for the modern era of professional wrestling, a role model for kids all around the world, and the greatest ambassador of Make-A-Wish. John Cena's role was set in stone as the name and face of WWE. You would have been crazy to assume he would turn heel. It made even less sense in early 2010 than it ever did beforehand. Jeff Hardy wasn't around anymore, and he wasn't reliable, and when you take Hardy out of the picture, there's no one that even comes close to Cena's drawing power. Story-wise, there was a great opportunity. A black and yellow shadow casted on the WWE. 7 rookies with the worst intentions to destroy the company took control of the show. Well, they only took control of Raw. They didn't used to show up much on SmackDown, but Cena was the only man that wanted to retaliate against them, but it felt almost impossible. He took beatings after beatings for months with no help from others, and it took 2 months for others to stand by his side in the battle against Nexus. As a kid, I always thought there was a chance for him to turn heel here. I was almost convinced he would join them at SummerSlam. But kid me should have known that it wasn't happening after he showed up looking like a grape. You know, that's how it was when you were a kid. You didn't really look at the merch and be like, oh, he's not turning heel. You don't notice this kind of stuff. Now, logically, it doesn't make sense for it to happen at SummerSlam because of the beatings he's taken. However, the later parts of the Nexus feud were so underwhelming, and a part of that is because even when Cena could have played heel, and when I mean play heel, I mean just a temporary tiny run that plays a part in Nexus's demise, they didn't didn't do it. He wore the armband and had this boring look on his face when it could have been much more than it was. It could have been like Orton infiltrating the Wyatt family where he was technically a heel throughout it, and then the story would have been about Cena destroying the Nexus from within, and the conclusion would feel much more impactful. He did try destroying the Nexus from within, but it was very dumb because he didn't even gain their trust. And on the other side, if Cena did fully turn, he would feud with Randy Orton, who was massively popular at the time. 2010 Orton without the wrist tape was like prime Stone Cold to be. But back to the topic of Cena, I just dislike how it ended. Either way, we should have seen a heelish version of Cena if he was going to join the group. It doesn't necessarily mean a run, but it could have been a chance to tease it. It is what it is though. We're not the ones booking the show. The Nexus one is actually my least favorite one, but it's one I've seen on the internet a lot from some people, so I decided to add it in here and try to shill for it for a bit. But even then, I'm not exactly a big fan. The only thing I do prefer is that John Cena did tease a bit of a heel turn. It didn't necessarily have to mean he'd become a full-on villain, but just something that could have expanded and enhanced the Nexus story. John Cena always had something in the way of a heel turn. It was mostly the fact that WWE didn't have someone to follow him. While one man wouldn't be able to lift the burden of being number one, WWE had three: Sheamus, Randy Orton, and CM Punk. The business wasn't at a bad point where there was worry, and unlike the previous years, there wasn't many strong heels on the roster. It was The Miz, Alberto Del Rio, and Mark Henry. That's it. They even had to turn Christian heel at one point. Similar to 2006, plenty of things didn't go Cena's way. The fans in Chicago despised him, fans cheer Rock, who disappeared for 7 years, over him, and Kane decided he had a problem with him. Perfect moment to turn him into a villain, either at WrestleMania or after his match with Brock Lesnar. Cena could have cheated to win that match in Rock's hometown, selling his soul to win the most important match of the decade, or after believing he was cursed. When I mean he was cursed, I mean he loses a string of matches as he did in real life. And this leads to him letting out all of his anger after losing to Brock and failing to regain the WWE Championship. The fans hating him in favor of Rock, Punk, and Orton. Imagine Cena becoming a pro wrestling terrorist and realizing he should have dominated being this villain. A villain that nobody could stop because he had the ring awareness, the skill, and now he would even bend the rules to win matches. The best time to turn heel. A once-in-a-lifetime clash forces Cena to embrace the hate. This is the one. I always see Cena being the best version of a heel that he could be if it happened around this time period. He had plenty of experience, and naturally, everything fell onto its head. There was a lot of logic behind a potential heel turn here. Other than the fact that there was a Kmart deal, I do wonder if they doubted CM Punk and Randy Orton's drawing power, because it's one thing for Cena to be number one, but it's another for him to be the main antagonist. That affects everything. I still wish we seen it though, because Punk could be proven right about Cena being a selfish person and a corporate stooge. And Randy Orton could call out Cena for being like the rest of them while playing a holier-than-thou attitude for nearly 10 years. WWE had changed a lot from 2011. By 2014, there was much more to look forward to, and it felt like there was going to be some progress made on a successor to John Cena. This also showed that WWE couldn't rely on him for too much longer, because while Cena was in form and in some ways still had the best yet to come, he was much older and sought opportunities in Hollywood. This heel turn also goes down with Cena doing everything he could to end the streak. You see, ending the streak is far more valuable than winning the World Championship at WrestleMania, because there was only one name that could hold the honor. Imagine WrestleMania 30, the dream match of all dream matches between The Undertaker and John Cena. The build goes down normally with Cena thinking he has the answers by not showing a single clue into his devious plan. And then the match goes down, and with every minute passing by, Cena's desperation is revealed. He starts losing himself and in the process discovers a different side to himself. A side that would go through any boundary to be the one. He's caught in a terrible position. He's about to take a tombstone pile driver, but he evades, and as the ref's distracted, he hits a dirty low blow to capitalize and hit the AA to end the streak. In another world, the streak is used as Cena's gateway to a heel turn. He ends the whole thing, but also does it in a style that's very foreign to him. All for the win. There's a great storyline in here, a dream match followed by not only the streak ending, but an amazing moment that sees a hero embrace his role as a villain. I just think these were all the times that Cena could have turned heel. These were like the most logical ones. 06, 2010, 2012, 2014. These were all the years and stories that would have allowed for John Cena to turn heel. I don't really get why John Cena never faced Undertaker WrestleMania 30. Maybe plans were in motion, but if there was any time to have that match, WrestleMania 30 would have been the moment. Now, this part of the video isn't exactly about John Cena turning heel, but rather how his mindset felt, and you're gonna understand why I mention his mindset in a moment. Bray Wyatt's encounters with John Cena have been the weirdest in Cena's entire career. What makes them weird is that in some ways it always feels somewhat tense and uncomfortable for Cena to stand in scenarios that make him question his own morals. The 2014 feud was a great story because it forced Cena to look into the mirror and test himself like never before to see if he's actually a good person as he claims. Wyatt was such an intelligent individual that he made Cena into a scared person. He knew that in another world he wouldn't be this great ambassador for kids, and it was a fight for his legacy. There was something to explore there, and I kinda wish WWE WWE was like a movie where business decisions wouldn't affect the outcome of a story, but that's not a world we live in. WrestleMania 36 explores more of this story in a deeper way, and the one that gave us a lot of insight into John Cena's mind. This was Cena against the side he always knew was there but never entertained much of. And this also leads to his regrets and a moment where he actually swung that chair. Now I just want to add something. I want to clarify this before I talk. This is all in theory. None of this is factual. It's just an observation I made while watching this, and all of this is theory. Do not take it as factual. So during this match, we are basically seeing a life of John Cena's, a career of John Cena's, where he endures failure after failure. He doesn't succeed with the Ruthless Aggression promo. It's nonsense. The Doctor of Thugonomics doesn't work. And when you add all of this up, Bray Wyatt leads him to the event of WrestleMania 30. So in some ways, he's basically teleported to a universe where he isn't the success that he is. And this is the moment where Bray Wyatt hands him the chair. He's like, are you gonna betray your moral code? That's basically the theory I have. That's how you get the moments that I'm about to mention. He would become the biggest wrestler in the industry times 10. He was already an incredible star and somebody whose star power was unmatched. But going Hollywood and turning heel, as they made it seem like, would only increase his legend status. Wyatt ripped apart into Cena's career and into his personal thoughts like never before that it justified a heel turn. It didn't need to happen, but there was a lot of logic there with Wyatt being a man that exposes wrestlers' true intentions. This was something that we noticed a lot with Bray Wyatt's character. He kind of exposes people. I'd wish for this to be a part of why Cena's bitter now, as Wyatt revealed his true intentions. A man that always disliked how the fans hated him, annoying him with a heel turn, and this match all tied it together. To the very point where Cena let go of himself and realized he's not as good of a person as he claims to be as a result of this match. To the very point where Cena let go of himself as he almost did at WrestleMania 30, but punching nothing, because Wyatt fools him and allows for the world to see the real John Cena, as they called him at the time, the most overhyped, overvalued, overprivileged WWE superstar in history. Those were Cena's words, but Wyatt flipped them over to make it seem like that's the true description of who John Cena is. But I guess Bray Wyatt had to go through hell in order to present a scenario where Cena actually does it, because he had to go through a life of failure and desperation and frustration to get to that heel turn that never happened. Because when we look at it, there was no real reason for John Cena to sell out. He was a talented man during his prime. He wins, he always found a way to win, but now he actually stopped believing that he could win. So obviously, either he'd give up and retire, or he'd sell his soul, potentially win that 17th title, because this is the most desperate he could be due to it being his final year. I just want to make this video simple, talk about moments where Cena could have turned heel. You know, he's obviously turned heel recently, and we'll see how the run goes. One thing I do hope with regards to this current run is that it's not a short-term thing where he puts over Cody and just turns face. That would be very unfortunate, but I enjoyed making this video, you know. It's good to look back and see some possibilities where Cena did turn heel and how things would have been, so yeah. Alright, what do you guys think of John Cena's potential heel turns? Please comment down below. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit the STF on the like button or perhaps the AA on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.